Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie Podcast. Hopefully, you're having a great week so far. I just got done traveling, seeing some 2025 products, so you know I had a good week. And before we get into today's episode, just want to let you know it's brought to you by Titleist and the brand new GT drivers. In the pursuit of speed and playable distance, Titleist engineers developed a new material construction that unlocks the next generation of driving excellence. The new GT driver series represents the biggest technological leap ever in a Titleist driver design. Inside the head's a new split mass construction that moves weight both forward and back to optimize speed, launch angle, and spin to the specific player needs for each GT driver model. From the outside, the GT drivers feature a stunning seamless thermoform crown, presenting a classic, confident package that feels as good as it looks. The GT's new crown construction also introduces a proprietary matrixed polymer never before used in golf. This ultra-lightweight material offers the versatile performance of a composite while delivering Titleist's signature sound and feel. Experience a new class of drivers with Titleist GT. To learn more about each GT model and find a fitting event near you, visit Titleist.com. So, hopefully you guys have had a good one. Yeah, I just got back. I left Sunday night to head out to Carlsbad, and I was out there until Tuesday, all day Tuesday, and then I red-eyed home. So I landed at about 5:30 or something like that on Wednesday morning. So Wednesday is typically a tough one. It's usually I don't get a whole lot done. Usually I come home, take a little nap, and then get up and get rolling. So still getting back into the swing of things, but I slept well last night. I was tired, slept well last night, so that worked out. But it was a good trip. Went out there, saw some 2025 product. Also saw some product that we're going to talk about today, which was pretty cool as well. Got to hit it, and yeah, it was fun. So I was out there checking out everything from Cobra, and it was a great time. Those guys are awesome. Also went and saw the guys from Artera. Looking at new stuff from them. Saw the boys at Fujikura. Saw what was going on with them. And then same thing, like Tuesday was Shaft Day, and had lunch with one of the guys from Mitsubishi. So talked a lot about 2025 product. I'm excited. There's gonna be a lot of cool stuff coming, and you guys as golfers are gonna have a lot of really cool stuff to test out and try. And thankfully, I got to hit some stuff as well. And anytime you go out there for a launch kind of thing, where you're getting to see next year's product, all that, it's always super cool, because the biggest thing is when people talk about, like, man, you have a really cool job and all that, and I do. I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky that I'm doing what I'm doing. And they always ask, what's the coolest thing? What's the what's the best part? And honestly, it's getting to go meet and hang out with people who work in the industry, who work at these companies, who design and work with these products every day. And it's just cool to see the passion that comes from them when they're showing you something that's going to come out in a little bit, and you can tell they have poured years of blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. And I know a lot of people out there are online give that negative thing of, like, oh, it's the same as last year, oh, it's not any better or whatever. And to see what goes in to making even small changes, even small changes in terms of moving, center of gravity CG position to, enhance the face technologies, and, to do the things that they're doing, to see what goes into it when you're under the limitations of the USGA and all that. It's pretty remarkable, and to see that firsthand, that all these people, these men and women are in there. They're really trying to make a better club, and it's really cool to see, and exciting. And like I said, when somebody presents something to you and you're looking at it going, wow, that's new, that's different, and they're just like, you can tell, when somebody's genuine and passionate and all that, and they're just that's just spewing out. You know it, and you can feel it. You can tell when it's faked and when it's not. And, when I go out there, it's never faked. It's everybody's telling you the story of how these things come apart. And you got to think, drivers. I was talking with Cobra, and they're already working on. I think they basically said, they're working on 2027 product, as we speak, and they're working on that. And to think about that, it takes 2 to 3 years for them, to actually get a product out. When 2025 hits, it's not like, oh, now let's start working on 2026 or whatever. They're still working on all these things, and researching new technologies and materials and all that. And it was pretty cool. So to know that what you see come next year or end of this year, whenever stuff gets released, that took years. That wasn't, a 2-month thing that they started on Jan 1. They released 2024 models and then, oh, I guess we better start working on 2025. Like, that's not how that works. Like, they've been putting a ton of time into it. And every manufacturer's like that, whether you're, a TaylorMade, a Callaway, a Titleist, whoever, everybody's doing that. So it was very cool. And like I said, it's always fun. Spent the whole day. That was actually the first time I'd been to Cobra's headquarters. I've been to pretty much everybody else. I'd not been to Cobra's headquarters, so got the big tour. And Jose Miraflor over there was so nice to take me on a tour. Took me to some spots that I probably shouldn't have been. Got some weird looks as people saw me walking through there with him. Probably going, "What the heck is this? Who the heck is this? And what are they doing back here?" But his pass unlocks a lot of doors, and he was kind enough to show me around. And then they've got a cool kind of hitting base simulator area. They've got the putting green that articulates. I mean, they've got all the cool toys over there. So spent the day, and it was a whole lot of fun. So thank you to him, Mike, Chad, Luke, everybody over there who took the time to hang out with me. It was a whole lot of fun. So can't wait to share a lot of that stuff with you. Unfortunately, a lot of it is not available yet. Can't talk about it yet, but we can talk about one of the things that I got to see out there. So today we're gonna chat about 2 different irons, and one of them actually launched today, which is the brand new Cobra King Forged Tec iron. So this is the brand new Forged Tec. They did one of these. They've done this for a couple years, a couple generations. I want to say this is at least the 3rd one. The first set of Forged Tecs was like really big, kind of oversized hollow bodies. And then the previous generation of this, there's a Forged Tec and a Forged Tec X. And this is same thing. So for 2025 and 2024, we've got the King Forged Tec, and they also make a Forged Tec X. So the Tec is going to be the slightly smaller version. It's going to be a little bit more compact. Kind of aimed at that player's distance category. So a little better player looking for a compact package that still produces, balls, distance, forgiveness, height, all that. And then the X version is going to be a little larger and a little more geared towards distance and forgiveness. So I kind of hit both side by side, and the X is definitely long. It definitely goes a good ways. But hit the Forged Tec. And the thing with the previous version, because I really loved the previous version Forged Tec, looked really good. I had the matte black ones; they look awesome. I just, from a dress, didn't like the look of how much offset they had. The transition from that leading edge, or from the hosel into the leading edge, had a lot of curvature to it. There was a good amount of offset in a lot of the top ends, so like 4 through almost 7 iron had almost too much offset to my eye. But the blade just didn't look as clean and as kind of player oriented as I thought it should. And they felt good, they sounded good, they were easy to hit. Everything about them was fine. The performance was really, really good. I didn't love the look of them. And now the 2020 kind of 425 model is here, it's out, and they have definitely made this something that looks really, really good. I love what they did when they handed it. They kind of were showing it to me when I was out there. And then I actually got, they handed me the 7 iron. I set it down, and I was like, wow, this looks really, really good. Like, it's got this look. And they were like, yep, we kind of redesigned it, went back to, make sure it has this look that better players are going to like, and that, more, picky golfers are going to look down at and to be happy with. And, they're right. So I just saw the 7 iron, and I was like, okay, well, I see the 7 iron. I don't know what the rest of the set looks like. They didn't have a full set in the conference room that they had. We were looking at a lot of clubs, so they didn't have to bring full sets of clubs up there. But they did bring up, just the 7 iron. So I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. I went down, I got to hit it. So I hit a bunch on GC Quad and stuff, and we hit a bunch of balls with it as well. And then yesterday, after I had gotten home, woken up, whatever, the set for a media sample showed up. So I have a full set 4 through pitching wedge, and they nailed it. Like, they look so good. The nice thing is when you set these down, you will probably, they're a hair bigger than the King Tour, just a little bit. The top line's just a hair thicker. I feel like the blade is just a little bit bigger than the King Tour, but the overall look of it is really, really good. And the first thing I did was yank the 4 iron out, because I was like, I want to see what these the long irons look like. Really, really good. Again, just a little bit offset in the 4-iron. But the top line, I would say, is a medium thickness. It's not too thick. It's definitely not razor thin, like say like an MB or something like that. It's got just a little meat to it, where you say, okay, I can hit this. I can probably hit this a little bit off center, still get away with it, and and still get a good shot out of it. So they really did do a great job reshaping these for this year. From the back, I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can kind of see the shape. I think they did a great job with the look. They didn't stray too far away from the old one in terms of the graphics on the back, but it blends in super well with the King Tour, the King MB, and even the King CB. In terms of looks, they look very similar from the back, but very classic, very clean. Kind of a satin chrome on there with just like a touch, like a little bar in there as a badge, if you want to call it, of actual chrome. And then on the toe, you'll see the little screw where they can kind of dial this thing in. I think you can use that for swing weight as well, as it is capped to be filled with foam as well. So this has foam in it. And yeah, it's hollow body, 2-piece design. Both pieces actually being forged. So it's got a forged 1025 carbon steel body. And then I believe the face is a kind of high speed steel. And it is basically their power shell. So what that means is that the face is all one piece, and it actually like comes under, and it's part of the sole as well. So the sole is actually part of the face. And what they do is they do that so shots hit low on the face, have a little more speed, a little more flexibility to it, and it is their hot face as well. So behind there, there is some contours and all that are built into it to ensure that the face flexes the way they want it to. And also in the long irons, you've got a little bit of tungsten low in the head to kind of help produce a little easier height, launch the ball in the air, all that. And then I think when you get down to 7 or 8 iron, the tungsten goes away, and it's just solid metal there. So yeah, this iron is built for the player who is looking for a good look, players type look, minimal offset, all that. A little bit of distance. They're not crazy strong. I think the 7-iron plays off 29.5 degrees. Pitching wedge is 44. So about 1 degree stronger than what I consider standard lofts now, which are, I think 45 pitch and about a 30 to 31 degree a 7-iron. To me, those are pretty much standard nowadays. The 4-iron is 21 degrees. So pretty stock. Lofts are not crazy strong, but out of this, you do get some really, really good distance. They're definitely not like insane long, and they definitely have some spin to them a little bit. But yeah, if you're looking for that little bit of distance, a little bit of forgiveness, and all that, they do that. But yeah, overall shape wise, just from a cosmetic standpoint, I think they nailed it this year. I think this iron is going to sell really, really well compared to the previous one, if not for just the look of it. I think if you're that player who kind of plays in that 770 realm, the Thai Fusion Apex Pro, T150 to 200, depending on, you're kind of in between, or, leaning one of those. Any type of like kind of hollow body player's distance, like a 240, a Mizuno Pro 245, any of those, I think this now plays with those really, really well. I think you can set this down and get a lot, and this has a chance to make the bag right along with those. So if you're in that kind of category of that's the type of iron you're looking for, I definitely say give these a try, because they perform really well. So anyway, they look really good. I would say if I can find maybe one other thing to nitpick about, the pitching wedge it looks a hair on the big side. It looks just a hair large, but it flows with the set. I think these things here, like I said, the blade is just a little bit bigger overall shape-wise than the King Tour. And the pitching wedge in the set, like I said, maybe because you see so much loft, it maybe just looks like a smidge big. But that would be my only negative thing I could say in terms of looks on these, because the rest of it, I love the badging, I love the clean look to it. I like the size, everything else. I think they look really good. So they're players' distance, but they don't look too intimidating behind the ball, because they are just a hair bigger than than the King Tours. So overall, shaping, cosmetics, all that, big fan. I think they nailed it. I think they hit it out of the park. And I think these, when they're standing on the shelf, if somebody grabs them and sets them down, they're going to the hitting bay. They're not going to kind of set them back and go, too much offset, whatever, not for me. Definitely nailed the look. So I got to hit them out there on the launch monitor. So I don't have my exact numbers because we didn't print them out or anything, but I hit a bunch of shots with this thing. So I was hitting these there. And I do have to say, feel really, really good. It's got a soft feel to it. I mean, these hollow body foam filled irons usually do have pretty good sound and feel. This one's just really solid. I mean, it's soft, but a lot of, like, there's some irons that you hit them and they're soft, like the PXG Gen 7s. You hit them and you're just like, wow, these are really soft. But with these, the first time I hit them, I was just like, those are solid. Like, they feel a little bit closer to a forged iron than a foam filled iron. And if you've hit both, and you probably have, you kind of know that there's a little difference between the two. You get that, like, cavity back type, or cavity back type iron, or single piece forging, and it just has that really solid feel to it. It's still soft, but it's just really solid and responsive. And I feel like this is a little closer to that than it is the big hollow body forged foam filled feel. Just really, because you hit it dead center, it's just got that heavy thud to it that you kind of get with forging, that you kind of lack a little bit in some of the hollow bodies. You get it close, but it's not quite there. I think this is a little bit closer to it. But feels really good. Center strikes really, really, they're soft, solid. And then the iron is responsive when you do start missing it out a little bit toe, a little bit heel. For me, it was definitely low toe when I was missing, which has just been my miss for the whole summer, it seems like, and all year. You definitely get a little more. You get a little click, but it's pretty muted, and the firmness goes up just a little bit. But the vibration of your hands is still pretty subtle. It's not crazy harsh. I know that there's certain irons in this kind of category, because they are smaller and they're not pure forgiveness wise. You do get a little bit of harshness if you miss it kind of low down there, because it is further away from center. You probably shouldn't be missing it down there, but that's just my game. But no, you get a little bit of vibration to the hands, but it's not crazy. You get a little bit of click, but it's pretty muted, and it definitely is a little bit more pleasant than some other irons with misses around that same spot. Misses that are just light heel or just light toe, anything like that, you get just that little bit of feel difference between a center strike. Still very muted. The sound is kind of that heavier thud, or there's no kind of metallic to it, no tinging, no ringing, and there's really not a whole lot of click to it either. It's just pretty much the ball making contact, which does make a little bit of that sound, but there's no clickiness to it. It really feels good, and really all over the face. You're going to be pretty pleased with where that ball strike is, and not only does the foam and the construction mute it, you can still kind of feel, oh, I hit that a little off the toe, oh, I hit it a little off the heel. It's a pretty responsive iron when it comes to those things. So that part about it I really liked. I thought it was really solid. I think the first shot I hit, I turned back to the gentleman fitting me, Andrew, and I was just like, whoa, like these feel really good. And he was just, yeah, he's like, these things have been really solid so far. So sound and feel really, really good. And then performance wise, they're long, but they're not crazy long. So we were hitting balls there, and distance wise, 7-iron at 29.5. I was pretty much hitting that 160 to 165 mark out there when I hit really good shots. Those are the good shots. Were all pretty much over 160 carry. When it was really flushed, I saw some 166s, 165s, which for me that's a 7-iron. A 7-iron is a 160 shot. At 165, it's going to depend a little bit on conditions of what's going on with wind and stuff like that. But at 160, a pretty calm day, whatever, I'm pulling 7-iron, and that's the club I'm comfortable with. So easily to get there. And even if I didn't strike it just dead center, if you were just a hair off, you're still hitting the 160 in terms of pure carry. And there was very little release. I mean, granted, it's a launch monitor, so it's kind of, it's assuming things, and it's kind of making those calculations and that guess. But they pretty much hit and stop. Descent angle on there was really, really good. I'll say distance-wise was solid. And they had some spin to them. When I was hitting this, the 6-iron, the spin-wise was kind of around that 6,000 mark. I was kind of fading the ball a little bit all day with every club from driver down when I was hitting. I was kind of hitting a little bit of a fade, which is not my usual shot, especially on the course, but hitting a little bit of a fade. So I saw some higher numbers there. If I really kind of let it go to the right, that 7-iron could creep up to that 7,000 mark or go over a little bit. But on solid shots, you were looking at basically kind of those low to mid 6,000 RPM type shots, which I think for a 7-iron is really good, especially this day and age. When you're looking at how many of the distance irons are so low spin, and a 7-iron spins 4,000 RPM, and then it's like good luck hitting that thing out of the rough and getting it to stop anywhere on the green. These here, I think having a little bit of spin to them, you'll be able to kind of hit those shots out of the rough and still have some control and not be worried about crazy flyers or anything like that. So, and again, I just got these in terms of a set in, so they will be going to the course, of course, as soon as I can get them out there. I'll be taking them out because I want to go hit them. But in terms of what it looked like there, really, really good. But it was easy to elevate. I don't remember exact launch numbers, but they were definitely easy to get in the air. I want to say it was kind of around that 19, even some 20-degree launch numbers when you were hitting them. Again, kind of hitting it out to the right a little bit, which was interesting. I hit a few low left ones, but for the most part, everything was a little bit more kind of fade bias or dead straight. So I wasn't swinging terrible, but I wasn't swinging amazing. But yeah, launch wise, kind of right around that 19 to 20 area, which again I think for a 7-iron is really really solid. So out there, performance wise, I was really impressed. Forgiveness, pretty darn straight. I mean, I'll tell you what, I hit a little bit of the X. I didn't hit as much. I only hit a few shots of the X. The X one is it just goes dead straight and it goes long. It's probably at least 5 yards longer than this iron, if not. I think the first one I hit, I flushed. And I think it went like 175. It was like a full club longer. But it is stronger lofted as well. I think if you look at the X, it plays off like a 42-degree pitching wedge or something like that. I'd have to look it up. But this one here, really good and really consistent. But forgiveness wise, pretty darn straight. It will allow better players if you want to kind of work the ball a little bit. Like I said, I was able to kind of miss mine left, miss mine right, like I usually do. But it definitely it's stable. It doesn't go crazy right or left when you miss it. But it does allow some better players to work the ball a little bit. So it's not going to be that club that you can hit it crazy, crazy way up on the toe with a weird path and it goes dead straight. Like it's not going to do that, but it will let you get away with some shots. Ball speed across the face was really really solid as well. Dead center strikes again consistently in terms of distance wise. It was like a 5-yard spread for me, which is about as good as I'm going to be at this 10 handicap. But shots when you miss center, the ball speed stayed up. You didn't see huge drops. It was kind of like on most shots you were seeing basically maybe 3 mile an hour difference. One you have kind of like your ball speed number, which for me is kind of like that one, I don't know, like 113-ish type range. You'd see some, some 115s, you'd see, a 113 or whatever. You'd kind of be around that kind of 2 or 3 miles an hour all around the face when you hit it good. That low toe one definitely dropped. You definitely saw some drop there, but anything around the center kind of kept within, a couple miles an hour, which again, just kind of adds to that consistency and that distance. So, really, really impressed with these irons. I think they're really, really solid. I'm excited to get them on the course. I will definitely report back, but for just hitting them in the bay and seeing everything there, they're really good. And then, like I said, in terms of looks, definitely, definitely really good. Now they don't have right now. There's no black one at the moment. No matte black one. That's just going to kind of come in this satin chrome for right now, which still looks good. Hopefully later on. I wish they would have like released a black with this. If they do a black, we'll probably see it later on. But the new Cobra Forged Tec, really, really good. I was really impressed with it, and I'm really excited to get it out on the course. So these are definitely one of those ones that I think it performs on the course pretty well. We definitely could see some, a little chance of these definitely going in the bag. The sole width is pretty decent. It's not crazy narrow, but it's got a little bounce to it. There's a little camber to the sole, so I'm assuming that the turf interaction will be pretty good. But we'll find out when we get into the course. So that is the new 2020 kind of 425 Cobra Forged Tec irons. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm pretty impressed. I think they're going to be really good. So check those out again. If you go to cobragolf.com, you can check out all the specs and everything like that. See what kind of custom options, everything they have. I think they were announced today. I think they start shipping like beginning in November. So I think we're just like a week or so away from those going out, maybe 2 weeks. So you can get your set there, and then for them, I think a four through pitching wedge set in steel is $12.99. So about the same price as everything else out there in that same market. But again, if you're kind of in that player's distance category, looking for something you're looking to see, that was probably going to be where you are going forward. These King Tecs are definitely worth trying. Definitely worth trying. So good feel to them. I think you'll be impressed when you do. So The next club I want to talk about is one that, unfortunately, I wish I would have hit it earlier. I wish I would have jumped on this thing earlier, but I didn't. But I do have to say, over at Cobra, I was on a call a couple weeks ago, and Mike Yagley, who's Yagley, who's the VP of like kind of innovation over at Cobra, was like, "Hey, did you hit the 3D limited iron, the limited 3D iron?" And I was like, "No, like I got a 7 iron in, did a bunch of photos with it, and then I kind of left it at that. I'm like, it's just got a 7 iron, so I wasn't, trying to kind of, I wasn't that excited to take it out. I wasn't really going to take it to the course. So he was like, really go hit it. I think you'll be really surprised. I really want to see, um, I want to hear your reaction to it. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So it took me a little bit. And I finally did. I went to the range and again, just have a 7 iron of it, and it is the 3D printed iron. They did the limited edition of. They only did like, I don't know, what was it, like 500 sets, something like that. But all 3D printed. It's like the first 3D, the production 3D printed iron that I think has ever existed in the market. But a very cool, kind of sleek, small design. Really classic. And honestly, it is smaller than the Forged Tec. So this thing kind of almost has, it's a little bit bigger than the CB that they make, and maybe a hair smaller than King Tour as well. I'd have to go set it down next to my King Tours to say that for sure, but I think it's a little bit smaller, maybe slightly stretched out from heel to toe blade length compared to the CB, but very very similar in terms of size, extremely compact, and it was built to kind of, it was built, I think, originally looks wise to go towards the better player, the lower handicap player. But with 3D printing and what they can do with this, it fits a wider range of players than you would think. So if you're not familiar, I mean, 3D printing, we've all seen it where the printer goes across, lays a small little bit of usually plastic or something like that, and it builds up from the bottom up, builds up a product. So they do the same thing with metal. So they do the same thing with steel to make a golf club. So they are actually 3D printing steel. It's a pretty cool thing, and it uses very similar technology in a way where they basically have a big plate and it starts making this thing from the toe up, and it goes toe up to the hosel, and it prints it. And the big thing with 3D printing, which Cobra's been doing for over a long, long time, but the big thing with 3D printing is that inside this head, if you were to cut this thing open, there's like an internal structure in there, but it's mostly hollow. So this thing's mostly hollow. There's an internal structure that helps kind of support the face and the body and make it strong enough. But it also takes a ton of weight out of the head. So in here, it would be just kind of like a bunch of like truss type looking X's and stuff that go through the head. Um, and then all the rest is hollow. So a ton of it is hollow, which takes all that weight out, which they can then redistribute in the head to make it, extremely forgiving and perform the way they want it. And basically, they then can take 100 grams of tungsten and put it low in the toe and heel. So there's two big plugs or two big weights of tungsten in the toe and the heel, and it's like 100 grams. And it's stuffed in there, and basically all the irons you can make them very very forgiving that way. You can kind of really push the weight down out to the extreme toe and heel. Um, so it's a very cool design. And like I said, if you cut this thing in half, you could see kind of the that truss type structure in there. And much like you see kind of on the back of the iron, when you looked in the back, there was kind of that kind of bead blasted looking kind of look of a little like almost look like chicken wire on the back. The inside of it kind of looks like that. It's a little different. Like this is meant to look a little bit nicer and all that, but inside is a very similar look to that instead of just being solid. But Mike and his team, I mean, those guys found that 3D printing not only does it allow you to do these crazy structures, but it also allows you to get a really really nice kind of steel in there. It's nicer than cast. It's like forged. So they built this thing, and the nice thing is it's a hollow body design, but it's not built for speed. This is not built to be a player's distance iron. This is not meant to go crazy far. They basically built this thing to be more similar to like a CB, a player's iron, in terms of off the face, but had the stability of a more forgiving club. So pretty cool design. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll take it out. Fine, Mike. For you, Mike, I'll do it. But I took it out to the range, and I hit, I don't know how many balls with it. I hit a ton because after the first couple shots, this thing is really, really good. So now knowing that after hitting this, I'm kind of bummed I didn't beg for a set of these because they sold out pretty quick. Oh, they made 500 sets, I should say, because it's like on the hosel. But in terms of look, like I said, it kind of looks like a CB, looks really small. Top line is definitely thinner than the Forged Tec, very, very minimal offset. And, like I said, just slightly a little bit longer heel to toe, but a really good look. But it was really easy to hit. So one, super easy to hit. When you hit it dead center, it got up in the air quick, but it had kind of a penetrating flight. It wasn't like straight up in the air. Didn't launch the ball straight up. And this thing plays off a little bit more traditional lofts. This plays off a 45 pitching wedge, 31 degree 7-iron. So a little bit weaker than the Forged Tec I was just hitting. And but yeah, this thing, it was like kind of after like 3 shots, it was pretty apparent that this thing plays a little different than its size. So I think the first couple shots, like any club, you kind of hit the first one were usually really, really good, and I did. And it was easy to elevate, had a kind of a little bit more of a penetrating flight than, say, like the Thai Fusions I was hitting and stuff like that same day. But easy to elevate, easy to get up. Like I said, I just have a 7-iron. And then after hitting a few really good ones, the honeymoon kind of phase wears off, and you start missing a little bit. If you look on the face here, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that there's a little bit of kind of all over the face. But it was amazing how easy this club was to hit. Like it really was. It's way more forgiving than the package. It's a small, compact-looking head, which I love the look of standing over it. And then when you start hitting it, and you start missing it a little high toe or low heel or wherever on the face, the ball still goes straight, and the ball still gets in the air, and the ball still goes decently far. Like the misses were far less dramatic than I thought they would be. And this thing here is definitely easy to hit. And for the size, you don't think it should be as forgiving or as easy to hit or as playable as it really is. And I think from a shape standpoint, a size standpoint, all that, you look at it and you go single digit and below. And I think a set of these won on tour already over on the DP World Tour. So from tour players to maybe an 8 handicap, something like that. And then you start hitting it and you realize that this could definitely go a little higher than just like an 8-9 handicap. They're forgiving enough where, depending on the player, you could probably be a 12 or maybe even a 15 and hit these and still be okay. It was really crazy to watch and see these balls that you hit poorly, just go pretty straight or just a hair off line and keep a decent amount of ball speed and still have more height to them. Like a lot of my misses are low left. Like that's just what I do. I shut the face, I get over the top on it, I hit it low left, and those shots still happen. I can hit any club low left and off the planet. But the ones that just were like kind of that in between, where you kind of did a little bit of that, and they'd hit and kind of come out low and draw a little bit, they stayed up in the air a little bit better. Like they kind of hung up there. They launched just a little bit higher, and they never seemed to go as hard to the left as I thought they might. Like when I had that swing, and we all know when your big miss comes, it's happening before you make contact with the ball. It was a straighter ball. It just didn't go. It didn't go as far left. It didn't curve as hard left. Kind of stayed in the air a little bit. And the same thing with hitting balls out to the right. You never had like the ball didn't just flare up and just balloon up and fall out of the sky. Where it stayed just a little bit straighter. It carried just a little bit more of a penetrating flight, and it stayed in play a little, or would have stayed a little closer in play. Those shots did, and the performance was really, really solid. It's really forgiving. And for being a face that isn't built for speed, it did hold ball speed fairly well. Some of the misses, yes, you did see a little bit more drop than you say you would with a Forged Tec, but the consistency was really, really good. And then the other thing that shocks you is after knowing like, oh, this whole thing's hollow and all that, the feel is really, really good. It's soft, it's solid, it feels like the CB feels. Like I've hit the Cobra King CB. Great iron. I think it's one of the most underrated CB. The CB is one of the most underrated CBs out there. I think it's extremely playable for, again, a little slightly wider range of handicaps. But this thing feels very similar to that. You don't get that that hot face feel. You don't feel like the ball like jumping off the face, but you do feel the ball like compress off the face here. Like you feel that ball compress. It's a solid shot as it leaves. The sound is extremely muted. Again, it's just kind of like that heavy thud. And I think if you were blindfolded or had no clue, there's no markings, anything on the head, you would probably just think you're hitting a either King Tour or a CB. Like it feels that solid. The misses are still good. When you miss it off there, again, you get a little responsiveness, but you don't get a lot of harsh vibration to your hands. You don't hear anything that's crazy loud. It's just a slightly louder little bit of click, but it's not harsh. It's not loud. It's not a big clanking miss. And for being, again, hollow and all that, they have somehow made it where it doesn't resonate or doesn't make any weird sounds or funky sounds, no matter where you hit it on the face. So really interesting of how good these feel and how could they perform. And to be honest, I'm gonna have to say say sorry to Mike because I never took these things out when they first came out, and I should have. And they ended up being really good. And numbers wise, so I had my on my launch monitor when I had the 7-iron out there, and my average carry on this was 160. So again, I mean, even though it's not built for distance, I pretty much averaged my carry distance that I want. I had a few that were a little bit left, face was shut a little bit, and they were the 165ers. But for the most part, the good shots were 159, 160 all the time. So the Forged Tec, I think if you looked at like the good shots versus the bad, it's probably about 4 yards longer than this was for me. But this was in that 160 to 160 kind of one-ish, 159, where the Forged Tec was a little bit closer to kind of that 163, 4, 5 area. So a little bit longer with the Forged Tec, but these were more consistent than I thought, again, on those miss hits. Spin came in at 59.11. Which again, hitting range balls there compared to really good balls at Cobra. I bet they're going to be fairly similar in terms of those shots, in terms of spin between Forged Tec. But this thing had some spin to it. Again, I think I like a little bit of spin with the irons, so good. But 5,911 is what I averaged. Ball speed was 114 miles an hour, which I think was pretty good because the smash factor came in at 1.36. And for an iron that's not built for speed, I think that's pretty solid. And again, the fluctuation of ball speed wasn't crazy. I mean, yes, when you missed it really low toe, it dropped a good amount. But for the most part, solid shots. The ball speed again on this didn't drop like you'd think it would with the more solid face to it. And then launch 18.4. So I think it actually did launch a little bit lower than the Forged Tec. This came out. It offered an easy to hit flight. It was definitely lower than like the Thai Fusions and the P770 that I was hitting kind of next to it. It was a little bit more penetrating. And I think when I looked at like the overall stats, I think it was about a degree lower. Like I think those were at 19 and this was at 18. So a little bit more penetrating flight, but still easy to launch, easy to get up in the air. And then, an apex of 88 feet, which was just a couple feet below the Thai Fusion and P770. So, overall, really, really solid. And this plays, again, I think I said at a 31-degree 7-iron. So the limiteds, I think they're all sold out, unfortunately. But if you're ever able to find a set on the secondary market or something, they are definitely worth hitting because super, super easy to hit, really, really solid. And I wish I would have begged for a full set of these because it would have been fun to have one of these. So these are really, really cool. Hopefully they'll do another run or something like that of the limited heads or something, and maybe I can get my hands on them. But these things really, really good. So the Cobra limited 3Ds. I know I'm a little late to the party on it, but man, they were really, really solid. So again, glad I was told to go hit them, and I did. So that is pretty much it. That's all I've got for today's show. You guys have a great weekend. Hopefully you can play some golf. Hopefully the weather's good. It was a little chilly here, but the sun's been out, so I'm definitely going to try to get out and play some golf. I know we do a lot of, kind of Halloweenish stuff with the fam, but I'm going to try to get out and play some golf as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, hey, hopefully you like my new head cover wall. Kind of redid it, and I think it looks pretty good. So anyway, it's all I've got. If you're not following me on Instagram, please do at Club Junkie Pod. We're going to do the Q&A today, and then also wherever you're listening, watching the show, whatever, please like, subscribe, all that. It'd be awesome. So anyways, have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week.